Hey, what's up, YouTube? Listen, want to finish up what I said last time regarding the Dalai Lama in Tibet. I'd just like to point out that Dalai Lama is not even he's not even a real Buddhist. Okay? Buddhism is about spiritual enlightenment. It's about finding your own path. It's trying to find like the inner you. It's like a gateway to peace within oneself. It was never meant to be an organized faith. Okay, and that's pretty much the Dalai Lama's interpretation of Buddhism. Okay, he wants it, the same way that like Wahhabists in Saudi Arabia, what Islam pretty much preached. He wants it organized. He wants people, thinking that he is somehow more divine, than, the average ordinary Buddhist. How is that any different than, what the Pope in Catholicism preaches, or what the mullahs over in Iran preach? That's not Buddhism. That is not Buddhism. Buddhism does not, encourage people to, have like an organized mindset, so that they're, sheep listening to a master, if you will. It's not. Like, what Dalai Lama is asking for, pretty much, is, his version of Buddhism, and the other versions of Buddhism, are not the true. It's not true Buddhism. And he likes to use Buddhism, kind of like his interpretation of Buddhism, as to encourage his own agenda. Among the people of the world, among other Buddhists. He pretty much, brainwashes, Western Buddhists, if you will, into thinking that, he's fighting for the future of Buddhism or something like that. When he's not even preaching true Buddhism. Buddhism is not an organized faith, and that's pretty much what Tibetan-style Buddhism is. Okay? It's kind of like, their own little mini sect of Buddhism. And, it portrays the Dalai Lama as some kind of, divine entity, and, people who practice Tibetan Buddhism believe that Buddha was indeed godly in some way, which, other Buddhists, he was just a guy who, led a great life and is, the prime example of what, the human being should behave like, And, any Buddhist who follows the Dalai Lama, all you're really doing is making Buddhism look bad to the eyes of the world, particularly the secularists. That's not how Buddhism, real Buddhism, works. And anyone who who follows the Dalai Lama, and supports him, you're pretty much betraying the very faith that you're supposedly fighting for, because Buddhism, he's pretty much disgracing Buddhism, with, his revolutionary bullshit, and it's a secular faith, and Tibetan Buddhism, it might as well not even be called Buddhism, because it's not. So that's really all I have to say about that. Anyone who thinks that, supporting Tibet, you're supporting Buddhism in some way, get a reality check. Tibetan Buddhism is not Buddhism. That's all I really have to say about that. I've seen real Buddhism before. I practiced Buddhism after leaving Islam, and it's nothing like Tibetan Buddhism. you know. So I might not be a Buddhist, so I can't exactly, vouch for other Buddhists, but I'm just letting people know from what I've learned and experienced when I was a Buddhist. So.